there's an endless list of things that I love to listen to you talk about, okay? I just love listening to you. It's very inspiring every single time. But my absolute favorite thing that really gets to me is when you talk about mind, about coming home, about you coming back to yourself. You just have a beautiful way of talking about it where it really strikes home for me. It relaxes me. It's just wonderful. And that's what I'm interested in exploring with you. Exploring it in depth, exploring it in breadth. I want to really explore that as much as I can, get as much out of you as I can about that.
Well, you know, it's my favorite thing to talk about too, because in talking about mind or in talking about going home, I go there most of the time. And I remember Sid talking about the best of both worlds, and in the very early days and throughout his teaching. And I loved that phrase, the best of both worlds. I didn't know what it meant at the time, but it conveyed something to me. It touched my heart, it touched my soul. And I find more meaning in that phrase now, the best of both worlds, because I still used to see as if I was coming home, you know, that I was out in the world of form. And so then it conveyed like there was a journey, there was some place to go, rather than we already are living at home, so there's no place to go. But more and more, I'm finding, like I used to feel like a passenger in the world. That's what it was. Like a passenger in the world, sort of being buffeted here and there, and sometimes it was great being a passenger, and other times I just felt at a loss. I didn't feel anchored. When I'm home, I feel anchored. I feel rooted in my true nature. And so it's becoming more and more the best of both worlds. The world of form, you know, the world of our experience that we create. And so it's more like living in our true nature and living in the driver's seat of our world. So it's not so much a coming and going, it's more a living, you know, living in that true nature. And it certainly simplifies the way I see life, the way I live in life. There's more guidance, there's more clarity. But it also requires nourishing that space, that place. And that's been really something I've revisited again in this last while. Seeing that sometimes we can get captivated by the outside world and stimulated by the outside world in various ways, you know, by technology, by being in service, by doing good, by being in service. But also that can still keep us in the world of form. And I've noticed that sometimes if I'm too much in the world of form, I lose that sense of peace, and I start to get a little testy in the overstimulation. I get a little testy. I don't feel like I'm residing in my true nature as much. And so I'm learning again to unplug from the world for a bit, to nourish who and what I really am. You know, to have some quiet where I clear my mind and I get re-rooted, if that makes sense, re-rooted in my true nature.
Now, you said, you used the phrase, best of both worlds, okay? I understood, and you explained it, I understood completely what you meant about the internal world. It wasn't clear to me how it's the best in the world of form. How is being home, how does being home the best of the world of form?
Oh, that's a great question. Because you don't have the attachment. Like if you're living more in the world of form, there's a degree of attachment to the form. But when you're living more in that essence, there's a sense of neutrality. You know, you still see what's going on even more clearly, but you're not attached to the outcome. You're not attached so much to the form. You've got way more perspective. And so it's like this duality. We think there's a duality between our true nature and our human nature. But the more we live in our true nature, the less duality there is. And somehow the less duality is, the more neutral you are. So that you can experience the world of form and your experience with more understanding, with more neutrality, with more love. Because if there's neutrality, I know it sounds odd to say, you know, on one hand, neutral. This living more at home provides neutrality. But at the same time, love. I don't get it myself. You know, I'm not sure exactly how that works, that you can feel neutrality and at the same time you can feel love. But I know that's so. I think, George, it's the unconditional love. You know, so that's where the neutrality ties in. That it's unconditional. Where so much of the time in my life, my love was conditional in the world of form, in my experience with my family, you know, friends, so on.
Well, it's very clear from what you just said how being at home like that really gives you a different experience of the form because of that neutrality and because of that unconditional love.
Yeah. And it's not like everything is perfect. I really like that aspect too, that there's still this aspect of continuing education where there's challenges that come up in your life. But the more you're living inside, the more you view those challenges also without judgment, without blame, with that neutrality. And so there's understanding much quicker. You don't have to mull things over or get engaged in the challenge. You just see the challenge for what it is. You see that it's transitory because it's thought, but you also see that it's what's behind the fact that it's transitory. You know, that it's energy in form. The challenge is energy in form. So you know that it's transitory and it'll move because it's not static, that pure energy moves. But for me, what's powerful, yes, it's transitory, but it's illusionary as well. You know, that there's a connection between it being transitory and illusionary. And why is it illusionary? Because it's evidence of our true nature and the true nature of the world of form. And I think that's powerful. I think that's really a powerful thing to contemplate, to explore, to reflect on.